Hey, what's up, guys? Cobra One here. I wanted to go over some lessons I learned in leadership. Lesson 1, don't take shit from anybody. You have a duty and responsibility. Now me, I spent quite a bit of a time. I was a team leader and I was a section leader. So I was in charge of anywhere from 4 to 6 soldiers. And let me tell you how I took care of them. So first and foremost, be humble. Some leaders are so terrified to admit they don't know something. And here's why. The supervisors above them shit on them for not knowing. For example, there's a saying, as an NCO, you have to find the answer. Well, let me tell you how the Army works. It is the easiest job in the world because you have somebody in charge of you. You have a supervisor to go to at every rank to mentor you. Yes, I get it. Like, I remember my first sergeant tasked me with looking for regulations. That's up to me. But when it comes to like, hey, you've been in combat, I haven't. Can you show me how the shooting drill works? Some leaders will go, absolutely, let me show you. Good, thank you, Sergeant. Now I'm going to go show the Joes. Some leaders will go, how do you not know it? You're a fucking NCO. I guarantee you, that leader that said that probably doesn't fucking know it himself. Probably sits up in the fucking office and sits on his ass. Don't be afraid to ask questions. And if somebody asks you a question that they should obviously know, guess what? You're the leader. If they don't know it, it's your responsibility to teach them. Think about it this way. Sergeant, I don't know how to tie my shoes. How has this man gotten to this point in his life? He's a failure without knowing how to tie his shoes. Or how about this? This man doesn't know something he should know, and he's being humble and taking the responsibility to ask someone that knows so that he can learn it and know it forever and maybe even teach other people how to do it. Don't shit on people because they don't know something. If you know it, teach it to them. If you think it's something so obvious, teach it so that you know it's obvious. You have to teach these kids. That's your job as a leader. You can't have a shitty attitude. Like on my worst days where I was just, and people knew me on active duty, there were days you just wanted to not talk to me. You could see it on my face. But in a situation where a soldier needed me, I put my fucking feelings aside and I said, what's going on, man? Okay, let's figure this out together. That's what I would do. Because I had a duty and responsibility as a non-commissioned officer to take care of my guys. Now, there's some people getting promoted based on their social status within the cliques inside a unit. This is a big deal in the infantry. The infantry is just like fucking high school. The Army's like high school, but the infantry is a high school on steroids. You're gonna see people that don't deserve to be promoted. And here's a lesson that I learned. Do the right thing at all fucking times, and you will come out on top. Here's an example. When I was in the 101st, there was a sergeant first class. He was a staff sergeant, then promoted to sergeant first class when I was still at E5. This dude was a fucking immature pussy. This dude liked to taunt and bully people below him. I'll never forget, he was a weasel in the same company we were in, and we ended up going to HHC together. This soldier that he had, this soldier would talk, because I was in charge of a detail with his soldier, he would talk about how much this squad leader meant to him, how much he cared about him, and how much he looked up to him. That squad leader had nothing but shit to say about that Joe. And it wasn't even like he was performing poorly, and I'm a little disappointed. I want to make him get better. It was just personally attacking this kid, like insulting his mental stability, just insulting personal things about him. And that's when I was like, all right, this dude's a fucking tool. One day, that dude would do nothing but talk shit about me in the office. So he had an administrative job to do. Instead of doing that, anytime my name came up, he would spend time telling every higher leader in the organization we were in about me and saying what a piece of shit I was. I didn't care, all right, because I had a job to do. I had 6 soldiers to take care of. Let that retard run his mouth. If there's some intelligent people in this organization, they'll know that he's probably the issue there if he's doing nothing but running his mouth about me, considering he's never really worked with me. One day, I failed a task. I was PCSing, and I decided, hey, what the fuck am I doing? I'm a non-commissioned officer, and I'm sitting on my ass doing nothing. I'm not some fucking private. I'm a non-commissioned officer. I have to help improve this organization. So I went in the first sergeant's office and volunteered for a task. Long story short, I failed the task miserably. I was not ready for it. It was tech-savvy stuff. Something I didn't do, and I brought that up. My commander was actually, I was ashamed of myself because we had to have another person do it. My commander didn't look down on me for that. He looked up to me like, well, you failed, but you volunteered for a task. And I was like, yeah, I did. Okay. My first line NCO, my NCOIC, recommended me for a reduction counseling, and I'm like, now at first I thought that this counseling was like a warning, like, hey, this was a task, you were volunteered for it and you failed it, don't do this again. I thought this was a warning. He put false information in this counseling saying that I was ordered to do it when I wasn't, and that I was fired from multiple companies when I wasn't. I remember asking to move companies and they graciously allowed it. So my thought is, why is this staff sergeant assuming this? Well, there was a rumor going around that I was fired and that's why they moved me. That is not true. I went to my CEO and said, I want to get out of this company that I'm in. I'm being fucked with by my squad leader. I don't like it. I don't like this company. I want nothing to do with it. So they put me in HHC. I was there for a bit. It was a nice break that I needed to learn a different job. But the reality was I hated that job and I wanted to be in charge of soldiers again. So I asked them, could you move me to another company? And they moved me to another company. I was like, cool. That time, I asked the sergeant major. So first time CO, second time I asked sergeant major. There were rumors circulating that I was fired for different reasons, and it never fucking happened. Nosy people with nothing better to do with their time were getting too involved and making rumors up about why I was moved. One of them was that sergeant first class I mentioned. So my NCOIC, I asked him, that's not true. Yeah, well, I heard that you failed to do tasks when you were in HHC and that you hid from them. I'm like, that's not fucking true. Now, my NCOIC, who was literally fucking retarded, and the second you caught him lying, would lie his way out of something. I pulled out my non-commissioned officer evaluation report where I was rated highly qualified. And I had him read the senior rater comments, and he tried to gaslight me into thinking that I was performing poorly when I have an evaluation report that said that I was performing good. So what do you do in that situation when you are giving facts in front of someone that's so retarded that they refuse to accept it? Well, that is what equal opportunity is for. So I went to the sergeant major and I brought that motherfucker as a witness because I knew he would talk about this. I sat down with Sergeant Major, like, Sergeant Major, I'm considering filing an equal opportunity complaint, but I'm afraid because E7 stick together, and the E7 that I'm trying to file this complaint against is friends with the EO rep. He goes, that won't happen. The EO rep is here. I'm like, okay, so I can go to him. I did that for one reason. One, I trusted the EO rep. We had a good EO rep. But two, to maybe put out like, hey, because this E7, the one that was talking shit about me, was getting really close with everybody. And that's what he did to get what he wanted. He stroked everybody's ego. And I wanted to make sure Sergeant Major was aware of that indirectly. My NCOIC was like, oh, that's bad what you just did, saying you may not trust the EO rep. I'm like, what? So my NCOIC was scared because he knew who I was going to EO. So I filed an informal EO complaint saying that this Sergeant First Class was spreading false information about me, talking shit about me to privates. And as a result, I got recommended for a reduction counseling. He said, wow, the EO rep, the Sergeant First Class, is like, Sergeant, I agree with you. This is unprofessional. And I said, look, I'm not going for a formal complaint because I respect this guy. He served in the Surge in 2009, and anybody that went through that's got respect in my book. But this is getting fucking ridiculous, and it's my fault for letting him do that, letting him think he could walk on me. Because the shit talking and bullying that he was doing behind my back got to a point where I was recommended for a reduction council. One, because I fucked up. But for the task I fucked up, to recommend me for a reduction counseling didn't make sense. He literally just wanted to get rumors from other people and put together a counseling, which is where he failed as an NCO. And my NCOC got in a lot of trouble for that. As he got replaced by my new NCOC, I was angry at the counselings because they were fucking bullshit. My new NCOC said, hey, Sergeant so-and-so fucking sucks. Your counselings are bullshit. They're irrelevant. And he deleted them from the computer, and I went, wow. And our platoon leader, because we switched to headquarters, said, well, you know how Sergeant so-and-so is. And I went, all right. So remember this. If you have a problem with somebody and you think they're getting on you, I promise you, they're probably a problem to other people. Anyway, before I go off topic, what happened to the guy I EO'd? I EO'd him, and he said, okay, I'll treat him like an NCO. It took me filing an EO complaint for you to treat me like the non-commissioned officer that I was. That's a little pathetic and immature. But that's what the program's there for. Some people need that, because you got to remember, people wear the uniform, and people will do what people do. I could have handled that in a worse way. The targeting, the manipulative of that battalion, no, I used the programs for me. I went to EO. Immediately when I filed that EO complaint, everything shut the fuck off. First Sergeant didn't say shit about me getting a reduction board. My NCOIC, even he was getting replaced, wasn't saying shit to anybody. It was almost like my NCOIC knew he fucked up, and maybe instead of being fair and impartial and recommending me for a punishment, he listened to rumors from other people that he was friends with instead of being professional about it. Funny how that works. So that dude goes to Fort Stewart. I go back to Fort Bragg or Fort Liberty, and I kept my stripes through that whole process. And that NCO that I saw, we never talked to each other. I never even brought his name up. But I was watching. If he said one more thing, I was going to file a formal complaint. He never did, though. But here's another story. So as you all know from my series on toxic leadership, I got kicked out of the Army. While still at Fort Liberty doing my extra duty, I had to go to brigade staff duty, and I met a sergeant first class. Now, the NCO that I met from Fort Campbell, that was fucking with me, that was talking shit about me, was from Alaska, 425. There was a dude there from 425, and it's a small unit. So I said, hey, when did you join, Sergeant? He's like, oh, I joined in 2011. I'm like, did you know Sergeant Thompson? He's like, yeah, I know him. I'm like, oh, you're Sergeant First Class, right? Yeah, you got some time, less time than him, right? He's like, yeah. He just promoted to Sergeant First Class as I was leaving Campbell. He's like, that dude just picked up Sergeant First Class? He goes, yeah, it doesn't surprise me. I know that dude. That man himself was a problem in his old unit from just that statement. But I didn't take his word for it. I looked at him and knew he was a problem. And that's a lesson to you in leadership. Don't listen to everything you hear about somebody. If you get a new soldier, assess them yourself. Because people love to fucking talk. When I got a soldier, I didn't give a shit about what anyone said about him until I formed an opinion myself. Because I am not a sheep. But a lot of people want to take the easy way out. And they formulate their opinions based on what they hear. Here's a lesson in leadership, you. Don't fucking do that. Formulate your own opinion. Be fair and impartial. Look out for your guys. It's the other one. Don't take shit from anybody. Alright, this concludes my lessons in leadership. Now, these are my lessons in leadership from my experience. If anyone in the comments wants to come in and add something else, go ahead. You're more than obligated to. Cobra 1 signing out.